The year of the virus. It is 12 months since the first 2 cases of COVID-19 arrived in Michigan. If we'd only known what? What have we learned? What does it cost us? And what do we know now? Today is Sunday, March 7th, 2021, and this is Flashpoint.
Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. This week we hit the 1-year mark. 1 year since, in the middle of watching primary election results roll in that night, Governor Whitmer announced that the first 2 cases of the novel coronavirus had been discovered in Michigan. Since then, it's pretty much been the twilight zone. Schools, workplaces, restaurants, all looking like ghost towns. Doctors and nurses shell-shocked by the loss of life, losses that have now run to more than 500,000 people in the United States. More than 2.5 million lives lost the world over. And millions of the bereaved with no way to properly say goodbye. It has been awful. And it's only because of a breathtaking and historic achievement in medical science that we can start to see better days ahead just now. What else have we learned? For one thing, we may have learned that as a nation, we need to get healthier. A new study this week finds that the likely reason the United States leads the world in COVID deaths is because we are the world's most overweight nation, that obesity rates are closely tied to COVID fatality rates. But what else? That's our focus this morning as we hit the 1-year way station. What have we learned? What do we still not know? From our hospitals to our schools to our lives. It's today on Flashpoint. Boy, so many threads to follow as we hit the 1-year mile marker for the coronavirus in Michigan. I want to start with our kids, many of them heading back to in-person learning just this past week. We have talked about the pandemic impact on the mental health of young people, but what about the nuts and bolts of education? Let's talk about that with Lori Higgins, the Bureau Chief for Chalkbeat Detroit, and Chastity Pratt, the Education Bureau Chief for the Wall Street Journal. Chastity, let me start with you because I'm really curious as to whether you think that we have really taken on a year's worth of damage when it comes to what our kids learn, or do you say, well, all the kids have basically been in the same boat. They've all been hit, maybe some more than others, but they've all taken a hit, so it all evens out.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about the lost year. What have children lost? Who has lost the most?
Yeah.
And we won't know the answer to that for years to come. Very definitely everyone has lost. I think one of the biggest lessons that the adults have learned is not only are our children connected to school because of their peers, but so much of their mental and physical health is, revolves around the structure that school provides. And in the last year, that structure obviously was disrupted and it's led to a lot of problems. But, we won't know who lost the most or what we really lost for some time.
Yeah, sure, that's true. Lori, it's not just kids who rely on the structure that school provides. It's left so many parents without kind of that anchor that it puts in your calendar.
Absolutely. I mean, parents have been struggling from day one with, how to balance work with, having to have their kids home all day, every day, learning, trying to provide oversight of their learning. That's not something that parents have been used to doing. They may be used to helping with homework, but they're not used to navigating complicated systems for getting online and accessing the curriculum that their schools are using. I think for some parents, this has been a bit of a nightmare.
Oh, I think that's absolutely, we know with that from so many of the testimonials that we've heard. It's been so hard in so many households. Lori, I wonder, though, what we've learned about preparing for whatever comes in the future. We know hospitals weren't ready for what happened. We know that our medical system wasn't ready for all the testing that was going to be required. Well, clearly our schools weren't ready for everybody to suddenly start learning at home.
Right. I mean, you don't prepare for something like this, but I think that we've learned a lot of lessons from what has occurred in the last year. We know how important it is right now to address the inequity issues that exist between wealthier communities and communities that are more vulnerable, where students don't have access to Wi-Fi, working Wi-Fi, and they don't have access to the kinds of equipment that they need to use. And so those are things that schools are going to have to address in the future, because you don't want to be in a situation that we were in last year when schools were shut down and there was no plan.
Yeah, Chastity, we don't often recognize how similar the plight is for inner city schools and rural schools, and the broadband problem, the digital divide has exposed that.
We heard all these stories from the beginning, and I think as the year has progressed, the problem became, everyone knew what was going on. So you heard less and less and less and less fewer and fewer stories of kids who can't get online and kids who don't have a laptop and kids who, they don't have a hotspot. So, that was really bad in the beginning, right? And now it's just bad. It still exists. Those problems still exist.
Sure.
But no, nobody's going to be caught flat-footed if we have a variant that closes down schools next year. That lesson has been learned.
You'd have to believe that, I wish that this was the only pandemic that we'll see. There may be more coming. But what do we do in the short term? I'd like to let you both weigh on in this about getting our kids back up to speed now. Now, it's not fully normalized yet. That won't happen until we can get vaccines everywhere. But in the meantime, what do we do to, and maybe we can't, but what do we do about this lost year? How do we make up that ground? Chastity, you start.
Well, there are a lot of teachers who say, not chalk it up as a loss, but just start from where you are right now and move ahead. I mean, you have to show children grace. You have to show their educators grace. You have to show parents grace. That is the word of the next year. Everyone deserves and requires some grace because there's going to be a reassessment of how much was lost and how do we get by and what do we do. We know the remote learning is here to stay. It's not going to go away even if, schools open fully. Remote learning is here with us. You're going to have to deal with how to teach kids in this new somewhat remote setting and assess what they learn in a different way because, honestly, kids cheat. They cheat online. This remote learning, kids cheated when they did come to school because they didn't go to a lot of there was a lot of absenteeism during remote learning. Yeah. So you're going to have to show kids grace and just, put your head down. The teachers know, just put your head down and do the work. Nobody's going to be perfect after this. We're going to all have some bumps and bruises that need healing.
Anything, Laura, your thoughts on the same question?
I agree with everything Chastity said. I will add, though, that I think that schools are right now talking about, what they need to do in order to provide the kind of programs that students need. I'm hearing a lot of school superintendents talk about beefing up their summer school programs. I've heard the Detroit superintendent, Nikolai Vitti, talk about Saturday school, when the school year begins in the fall. I think that people are looking at, how do we know that kids are resilient, but we don't know how resilient they are in the wake of a pandemic and the kinds of learning loss that they've experienced. But what I'm hearing is that a lot of school leaders are looking at, how do we give them a little bit of extra learning? I think the challenge is going to be teachers and students. They're overwhelmed, and I don't know that you're going to have large numbers of teachers and students wanting to, be in summer school after the year that they've had. And I don't know how many are going to want to be in school, for a longer school day when the school year begins in the fall. So those are all things that I think schools are going to have to consider.
Lori, sounds exactly right. I can hear a lot of parents giving huzzas for what you've just said. Chastity, Lori, thank you so much for the time. Stay safe. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
You bet. When we come back, what have we learned about public health and medicine? This is Flashpoint on Local 4.